When COVID first hit and everyone was quarantined, I started a thing called 50 Dates in 50 States, where my goal was to go on a virtual date with a girl from each state before quarantine was over. I got to 28 states, and then something wild happened. I woke up to an email from a producer in LA that said, "Hey Matt, I came across an article written about your Corona-era dating endeavor and think it would make for a great reality TV series. If this is of any interest, I'd love to have a conversation about it." Long story short, I had to put a pause to my 50 Dates in 50 States while the producers and I got to work on creating this new reality TV series about it. Things are still in the works, but they gave me the go-ahead to finish what I started.
Before you started this, well, you already mentioned when you started the whole thing, right when the pandemic started. But before you started this, were you scared to go on dates? I'm curious on that. And then, if this had helped you, did your experience with this help you for the future going on dates? And I know that you seem like a very social guy, so I don't think that's going to be an issue for you. I'm just curious.
No, it's a great question. So can you hear me all right, by the way?
Yeah,
Cool.
you're good.
Yeah, so no, when I first started this and like before this, I was fine going on dates. I never have been like a active dater, I guess you could say. Like, I think it's weird to me. I don't know how you are, but like, to me, it's when you think a chick's cute or you ask her out or you want to go grab dinner or go to the movies or do your thing. Like, to me, it's just weird because
Mhm.
you're never just yourself. Like, there's this like initiation phase. Like, you're sitting across the dinner table and you're both like reading each other and judging each other and analyzing like, oh, okay, how'd I say this, or oh, how do I look, or oh, does she think I'm cute? Like you're just constantly like you're never just in the moment like relaxed. It's like it's a little weird. And so like and I'm a
Yeah.
social guy, like I could talk to anybody, and so it's fine. Like it's never awkward. It's just like it's never normal.
Mm.
It seems like it's never just like uh two people having dinner because you're not at like that comfortable stage yet. So but like I
Mhm.
what I would like beforehand, before I started all this, is like, oh, if I was already comfortable with a chick, like we are already friends or we knew of each other already and we'd go out or something, then that's like a lot easier. Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, yeah, I'm always comfortable talking to people, so that I never really worried too much about that. I like being single, I guess. I don't, I like,
Mhm.
cause I feel like I feel like I have like a lot of personal dreams and ambitions, and I'm not ready. I don't know if I'm not mature enough or what it is, but I just don't want to like settle or share my time with someone else. While I want to get myself like all the priority first, and then once I'm at where I
Mhm.
want to be, I'm like, okay, then I'll start looking more actively. So yeah, that was
Okay.
before, and then now after I've gone through all of, like the virtual ones. I mean, after I still kind of have the same mindset, I guess. I'm just like, oh, if a cute chick wants to go on a date, I'll do it. I try to push my comfort zone too, because sometimes I'll talk myself out of it. I'm like, no, I don't want to. And then I'm like, come on, Matt, just do it. Don't just go and like see how it is. And so yeah,
Right.
that's kind of how it's been. How are you with like? I'm curious. Are you like an active dater guy, or do you have a girlfriend right now?
Now I am currently single. For me personally, with going on dates and whatnot, I agree with like it could be weird at first. But like so getting to know someone and doing that, I don't know. I kind of experienced both, and I don't know. Actually I lied. I experienced way more just random, like just going on a date, like meeting someone and just going because like I never had like an actual friend that was a girl that like I'm like oh I could see myself hanging out, going more with that. Like I never did that, and I don't. It's not. I don't know. I don't know, but with me, I don't I used to talk a lot, just just because I'm more traditional. I would say like I want to meet someone that I know I can, hopefully, have potential like a good relationship with. I have not had that up to this point in my life. It's just because I used to rush into things. So doing all this stuff, it's different. But I'm more with dating wise. If we just go, then hopefully the vibe's right. If not, then forget about it. It's over. And I'm not like I'm not a big hookup type of guy either. So that kind of throws the playing field out in college, especially.
Oh, yeah, that divvies it up quite the extent.
Guys, we got our first sponsorship in the books. Thank you to Javita. With their coffee sticks, it's designed for coffee on the go and to cut costs. It's easily accessible anywhere. You can put it in your backpack pocket, literally anywhere you want to carry this. But it's a little packet and it acts as a stir, and there's coffee grains inside. So all you have to do is just heat up some water and stir it up, and you got fresh hot coffee with a slight hint of vanilla. But no more coffee makers, no more stirs, and it saves you time. If you're interested, go to javita.co, and they're for one box of 15. It is $13.99, so it's already on sale. But if you enter my code AdamMac5, you get 5% off. And I just want to thank Javita again because this is my very first sponsorship, and it's a small channel right now, but it can only grow from here. So I just went out on a limb that you continue to grow this tree by doing something different, or just be yourself.
No, it's weird at our age too. Like, this is the age. Like, I mean, you probably have a handful of friends that are getting engaged or married. Like,
Yes, I'm actually going to be in a wedding next year.
yeah, see, yeah, exactly. So it's like, and girls are the worst. Like, they build this persona because they see like their friends getting the rings and the dresses and the flowers, and they're like, oh, I want to get married. And me and you are just like, well, we're just looking for a girlfriend right now.
Yeah,
Like it's just kind of one of those things. And so it's weird at this age. Yeah, you have to be really serious, like going into something, because like that's, and you said it too, like if rushing into things. But that's where I learned with my friends. They would rush into something, and then they'd have 4 or 5 girlfriends in a calendar year, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what's the point? And so like, I mean, like the fun phase for 2 or 3 months, sure, but like, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I always just like, I learned from an outside source. I was like, I'm just gonna be patient and not go through numerous
Yeah,
amounts.
right. Yeah, I don't want to do that either. I agree. I want to make sure I'm talking to the right person and they match up with my values and I match up with theirs and we can make each other better. Because I'm all about like you date someone to see what the potential is. Like that's just my mindset on dating.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I like to show respect. So like you gotta always show respect to girls because sometimes people don't like to show respect and that's not cool either.
Oh no, I know, and it sucks because like this is gonna sound maybe a little weird, but I feel like respect is like there. How am I gonna word this? Like, if you show respect or a lot of respect, sometimes it's like uh considered flirty. Like if you hold
Yes.
the door open for someone, or if you open the door, like the car door
Uh-huh.
for someone, like they're like, oh, what's this guy trying to do? It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just
You be
yeah,
respectful.
yeah, I'm just being respectful. Like it's, but it's weird because it's almost like old fashioned in a way.
Yes.
Like saying please and thank yous, like telling her she looks good, like getting her a flower, whatever it is. Like some of that stuff is considered old fashioned instead of just like picking her up with your radio blaring, like hop in.
Yeah,
And
and that's that, and I can't do that. I went on a date one time, and I'll never forget it. I opened a door for her, and this is the first time hanging out. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Opening the door up for you." Like people just don't aren't used to that, and guys don't treat girls with respect sometimes. So I mean, then it ruins it. Then they're like their minds all messed up, and I'm like, it's like the girls mess up guys' minds, and girls mess up. It's all weird.
right, absolutely, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. That's why I'm like I just don't want to do it. Like I want to, make sure I meet someone right. But so did you wait, oh, here it is. Did you put up the initial idea on TikTok to see if it was worth even starting or did you have this mindset that you were just going to go for it right away?
Definitely the mindset I was just gonna go for it right away. I
Mhm.
didn't even have TikTok when I started this,
Okay.
because I don't know how you were, but like my initial, I kind of had the same similar mindset of TikTok that a lot of people did that were like
out of college and more, or like even maybe the end, they were like, oh, it's just high schoolers dancing.
Yeah, teenagers.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, no, I get that. But then, so yeah, I kind of went into the dates just like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I was like, oh, maybe I'll put them on my Instagram. And so I started kind of throwing things on my Instagram and whatnot here and there. And when
Mhm.
I initially announced it on Facebook, and that like really blew up.
Okay.
It had like a lot of shares, a lot of likes, stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, like people think this is pretty cool and whatnot. And then when I started going on dates, the dates were asking me, they're like, oh, so is this like a TikTok thing? And I'm like, no, I don't even have TikTok. They're like, you don't have TikTok? And I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, I gotta get TikTok. And so then
God forbid.
yeah, right. Yeah. And so then I got TikTok, and then, started figuring it out along the way. But yeah, initially I had no idea.
So the first couple dates I noticed that you knew them like friend wise. So when you started reaching out to strangers, how did you reach out to them? Was it through like Instagram or Tinder?
Yeah, yeah. So I think like the first 5 or 6 dates I had, I think I knew like two of them. And what I did is I wanted to, before I like announced I was doing this thing, I wanted to have some inventory to show like it was like I was already working on it, or it was like I already had some inventory. It wasn't
Hmm.
just like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and then like nothing to really back it up.
Right.
And so when I first and I tried to pick girls, if I did know them, I tried to pick girls that I hadn't talked to for a long time. So then it's like it's almost like just reconnecting, or someone that
Hmm.
I might have talked to very briefly. So there was that, but then yeah, I started on Tinder with everything. Everything was through Tinder, and I would just message them. I'd kind of like I'd throw my elevator pitch and whatnot, and then eventually I started doing a couple, or I'd slide into some DMs too. I was doing
Hmm.
that route because Tinder, it sucks because there's so much waiting. And I mean,
Yes, I hate that.
yeah, DMs, there's waiting too, but it is more direct. And
Hmm.
so in Tinder, you don't even know if somebody's gonna really see it.
Right.
So I started those two, but then after it started rolling, then I didn't even have to use Tinder anymore, which was super nice. Because then I would just go through my DMs or my comments, and then I could just pick the girls that I thought were, cute and fun and chill, and be like, all right, you.
I like that. That's really cool. So, what was a typical message like? I'll give an example of mine. It's whenever I reach out to someone. I mean, you saw it. It's kind of it's. I try to make a little more. I try to make it personalized for everybody. I don't want to just have a basic message, but I say like, "Hey, I saw your stuff. Really like what you're doing." And then I kind of say, what I'm into, and what I do, so I'm not sounding like a complete random stranger. Um, and then I send my podcast profile just to make sure, like, show them like this is legit.
Mhm. No,
Mhm.
I thought your approach was awesome, because like you
Okay.
were the thing that made me attracted to it was like I could tell you were an energetic guy, or like
Hmm.
you were enthusiastic about what you do and everything. It wasn't just like, hey, I have a podcast, want to come on? Like it was
Yeah.
like it wasn't dry. It was like you had a good approach to it. So I really
Okay.
like,
Cool.
yeah. And for me, my pitch changed like 18 times because like, at first it was typical just saying like, hey, or at first I would say like I'd ask them a question, because usually when you get asked a question, you always want to know what like the follow up is. And
Yeah.
so I would ask them a question to like kind of reel it in, or to cast out the fishing pole. And then once they bit, then I try to reel them in. And so
Yeah.
I would ask them just like, hey, would you consider yourself a fun and outgoing gal? And
Hmm.
then or like fun and spontaneous, or whatever I would say. And then normally they'd be like, because if they say no, they just sound boring. And
Yeah.
so most of them would say like, yeah, or whatever. I think so. Why? And then I would say, well, I created this thing called 50 Dates, 50 States, where I'm trying to go on a virtual date with a girl in every state. And initially I was trying to do it before quarantine ended,
Yeah.
before some like the LA stuff popped up and whatnot. But yeah, I said I'm trying to get go on a date with a girl in every state before quarantine ends. You can check out. I sent them my Insta and things like that. If it was on Tinder, just because even if I didn't have like an artillery of stuff to show, just so they could like check me out. If they were like, oh no, this kid's a weirdo. Like, so I tried to give them the common courtesy to at least like uh, social media stalk me.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of in the beginning, and then towards the like as it went, then I would kind of do what you did, is like how you shared your podcast. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I'd be like, oh, check me out on TikTok, or things like that. Like and it was usually pretty easy that way because it was already girls who reached out to me, and so I was
Yeah,
just like, oh yeah, like absolutely. So it
that's
changed
cool.
a bunch, but yeah. So
Well, then, what was a typical date like then? Did you just say like, let's get in a Zoom call and do it, or what did you do with that?
yeah, so I tried to make them. I wanted to make them fun. It's
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, like my creativity was it was tough to get creative with these when like because I feel like there's only so much you could do virtually, right? And
Right.
so I really got to the drawing board on what I could do. So I'd wear wacky outfits for some of them because as the MC and the entertainer for the baseball team, I do have some like different colored suits and things like that. So I'd wear those like based on where the date was. I would do like there was a date where I did a couple magic tricks. I bought a couple of things, dinner. I'm trying to think what else. Like, I'd play some games like categories or never have I ever, things like that. I'm like kind of known for this a little bit, but like shotgunning beers and stuff. Like we do like a couple of shotguns on my dates or taking shots. So I always tried to make fun in that way instead of just hopping on talking because and don't get me wrong, I did that with a handful of them, and that's where it was just tough because I didn't know how else I could get creative and whatnot. Or sometimes I'd have like back to back to back dates, and I'd
Hmm.
be like, okay, like I'm doing it for this one, and I got to talk on this one, and then so this is kind of a puzzle to put together.
That's interesting. And disclaimer: we are of age, so anyone under 21, do not do that. You got to do
Absolutely.
the. So, was it weird then first doing the dates? Maybe not the ones you knew, but like right when you reach out to strangers, like with these ideas, and did you think it was weird doing it like as you were talking, or did it like loosen up as the dates went along? Then.
Definitely loosened up as the dates went along. Like there were things that I would think of that I wanted to do on a date,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't like start off like, oh hey, I'm Matt, and then I'm gonna show you this magic trick. Like it would like never be like that. Like I would always play the date out, and we'd see how things were, or I'd talk to him about it in Tinder or in Insta or whatever it was before I got on the date.
Yeah.
Like oh hey, like with Tennessee, I'm like hey, we should have mimosas on
Mhm.
Sunday morning or whatever. And she's like, oh, that'd be awesome. And so when we get on, like we're cheersing with our mimosas, and we start talking about like bar drinks and stuff like that. So it just like sometimes it's almost like an icebreaker to do those things. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like I would more so talk to him about it first, and then it would just play into it. So that's how those kind of went. But they all went really easy going for the
Okay.
most part. Like all I'd say, oh man, I shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to.
I can edit it if you don't want it.
That's all right. You do you. But I'll be honest. There was, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some dates I like more than others. Like in terms of, or they went better in terms of others, I should say. Just
Yeah.
like of what we did or how well we, fit and things like that. But then I remember I had one date, and it was terrible. It was so terrible, and it was terrible because like she was so oh man, she just seemed very distracted. Like
Yeah.
it'd be like if you were talking to me and I was just sitting here like on my phone.
Oh, that's the
Like
worst.
like you feel like you're not like you would feel terrible. Like
Ladies, don't do that during a date. That's the most annoying thing in the world.
right, yeah, absolutely. So she was her roommates were around and they were like drinking, and it was chill. Like I've had that happen before, but then like she yeah, she would just like she just seemed distracted and not really into it. And then she was like, "Oh, what time is it?" Like she seemed like she was like waiting for the time to stop till it had hit an hour. And then she kind of had some like bad attitude too. And
Oh,
so I literally was like, you know what? I'm gonna find another date from that state. And
that's interesting.
yeah,
It's
so I
funny
like
because
oh
keep going.
go.
I was gonna say I had these questions. Like you just answered a bunch of questions I just had in this episode. So keep going. That's awesome.
Okay, yeah, yeah, and it was yeah. I mean, I that's why I have whatever. This is why I had two Florida dates is because my I called it out. I don't care, whatever.
she
But
she can learn from it. She can learn from
yeah,
it.
she can absolutely. And so yeah, I literally, I remember after I was just like, man, that was not good. But then I was like, man, I wrote her name on the map and I'm like, okay, it's fine. Well, you know what? I'll just keep her as it, that's okay. But then I remember I got a DM from another girl from Florida like a couple days later, and she was very, very, very attractive. And I was like, this chick seems chill. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to. I just like there was something inside me. Even if that chick didn't DM me, I was
Yeah.
like, I really don't want to include the other one, and so I just and it was really hard for me to do that because I felt bad because she did agree to do it
Yeah.
and she took time out of her night to do it. But then on my end, I'm like, you know what? You just didn't fit what I was looking for, I guess.
Did she reach back out to you then after, like, if you posted it?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you explain how it, like, you're like, listen, it just wasn't good?
No, I didn't. I couldn't, Adam. I didn't know what to say. I posted the video where like it was the slideshow of all the girls going through, and
Yeah.
she DM'd me and she was like, "Hey, why am I not in this?" And I was like, "Oh no, what do I do?" And so I just didn't respond. I didn't know what to do, dude. I, I I froze. I folded like a lawn chair. I didn't know what to do.
That's completely fine. I mean, it sucks because there's definitely girls out there like that, and that's another thing. Like, you don't know until you actually go on a date, and but like, there's definitely times you just don't know until you get that personal interaction. So I mean, hopefully she can learn from that because there's definitely so many girls out there like that, and it's so frustrating.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So I was just like,
Mhm.
I rolled with the punches and that's where it is.
Well, I mean, I respect you for doing that because I mean, I mean, I don't know. It sucks. I feel bad for her, but at the same time, I mean, she did it to herself almost.
100%. Absolutely.
So what was I had another question I was gonna ask, but that threw me off, and I loved it. It was great. But so how long did the dates go? Usually, you said an hour, but I saw that one lasted like 6 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my first date with California. That one lasted 6 hours, which was just nuts. And it's weird because it's with those like in the beginning, I didn't have it on a time schedule. We just kind of went with it, and in the beginning, my dates were way longer. They were usually always above like 2.5 hours or more. It was like two and a half,
Okay.
3, 4 hours. And yeah, the California one was 6, but I was never. It was never like I sat there like, oh my gosh, when is this gonna end? No, it was it was very engaging. But like I remember at the end of the California one, I literally thought we had been talking for like 2.5 hours, and she's like,
No way.
talking for 6 hours, and I'm like, what? Like I
Wow.
yeah. So um, but after I was doing those in the beginning and everything went on pause and then I started to back up, I was like, okay, I gotta really be valuable with my time here, and I want to make sure I'm just doing hour dates. And if they go a little longer, sure, it's okay.
Mhm.
But like it was such a hassle to like download a 5 or 4 hour date,
Yes.
go
It takes forever.
yeah, and going through and trying to like take like a 30-second clip of a 6 hour date, like it was just so much time to do and storage and things like that. So I'm like, hour dates, it's so much more organized, so much more like, clean that way. Like you know how to do it. So I just started doing hour dates after I resumed.
Yeah, I think this one's gonna be a little past an hour, but I know exactly how you're talking. Every time I edit a podcast, like I make sure because I know there's sometimes like I'll say something that I didn't want to say in there, or they said something and they wanted out of there, so I have to go through everything. And I'll tell you when I edit, I'm usually I listen all the time, but sometimes I'll be on my phone like trying to do something else while like I'm trying to multitask because that takes forever to edit that stuff.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. Oh man, yeah, you have to, yeah, podcast, you have to, it's the whole thing.
It's
Yeah,
the whole thing.
it's the absolute whole thing. Oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no wonder you got to keep them like really.
Well, that's what sucks because I'm literally doing everything by myself because I mean this is my idea. So I'm doing this or trying to set up episodes, trying to film the episodes, then editing. So I'm trying to be on a schedule where I put one out weekly, but like life just gets in the way and it's so hard because like at the point because you don't have an editor or anything like that. But to be honest, I don't know if I'm ever going to want an editor because I don't know if they're going to want it to edit the way I wanted it. You know what I mean? Like because everyone could have different, ways they want to edit. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, you want it in your
Oh,
hands. Still might be froze, Adam. Hold on. Oh, there we go. There we go.
you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Where did I leave off at with you?
You said that you don't know if you want to like put the editing
Oh,
into
and
somebody else.
edit. Yeah, because with the editing stuff, like I don't know if someone's gonna want to edit the same way I want it. You know what I mean? Because there's definitely parts where I think are more engaging than others, and I feel like if I have an editor, like they might cut it out. So when I get to that point, I'm gonna have to really consider what I want to do with this. You know what I mean? How I want to grow it. With a team possibly, like because it's a lot to do this stuff sometimes.
Yeah. No, 100%. I know that's always a fear I have as well. Like if I build this and build something, like you're just like delegating tasks or you're giving responsibility to others, but then if it's not done the way you would do it, it's like, oh man, like why don't I
Yeah.
just do it?
Yeah, and well, maybe I don't know if you're like this, but like when you had a date set up, because like when I do, like, don't get me wrong, I love doing this stuff, like everything about it, like I love creating the mind or the vision of it, getting someone on, I just love all that, but right when someone agrees to come on, like it gets to be a lot of work, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this now, type of thing.
Oh, 100%. I'm so glad you said that because that's like refreshing for me because I was like, I really hope I'm not the only one.
I was hoping I wasn't the only one. Someone else had a podcast I was on, and they said the same thing, that they're like that too.
Yeah, yeah, I think, but yeah, it's so true. Like I was like that with dates, like if I had two or three in a night, or if I had one, I'm like, man, like I have stuff to do, and I have to talk to someone, and like it's not bad because like I love
No,
doing,
yeah,
but it's like you have other things you're prioritizing, you're getting organized and things like that. So it was honestly super refreshing once I completed 50, because then I
yeah.
was like, okay, now my priority and my vision and focus can shift to not
Hmm.
scheduling dates, lining up these things, exporting and downloading the videos, cutting clips. Like now I can turn my attention to something else, or just content or whatever it is.
Right, yeah, and like I mean, don't get me wrong. As soon as I get the call on, like as soon as I'm with the person, like I didn't have this issue with you because I knew it was gonna be a really exciting episode. But I know that like right when I'm on the call, like all that stuff I just thought of just goes away because then I'm in the conversation. It's fun.
Same. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think that's like I think it was for me, and I think same for you. With dates, like for me, sometimes it was repetitive of just like, oh, another girl, another girl, another girl. And for you, it might be like, oh, another podcast, another podcast, another podcast.
Hmm.
So for me, it's nice to do things like this because like it's like different from what I do. It's like,
Right.
oh, I'm talking to someone, and it's like the same in a way of like, oh, I'm virtually chatting with someone, but it's a completely different like narrative
Topic. Right.
perspective. Yeah, and so
That's why that's why I like to find because I mean I love sports and whatnot, and I like having some sports people on, but I'd like to say this is a guest based podcast because I love to see the interesting things people do in their lives, and then I love to learn from that, and like I bring people on that I think I can learn from, or or like it's just a really cool episode and they're really cool. So and I try to like that. I don't know. I try to have it help me, and then also have a really cool episode because there's a lot of cool people out in this world that like my motto for this podcast, and I have it on my biography, my Instagram, is everyone has a story, and it's so interesting.
yeah, no, it's so true. That's awesome. I love that.
So oh, and this is what I remembered I was going to say prior. So I think it was your day two or someone, but and it was the Tennessee one also because that's what reminded me of it. But I love how you were like, this is an absolute dime or like a 10 out of Tennessee. I love that, dude.
Oh yeah, I had to. I tried. It was so weird when I was making. Are you talking about like my date highlight?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was so in the. Yeah, that was good. When I was making my date highlights at first, like that was something I really went through trial and error with. At first when I was making them, I made them kind of that way where I did like a voiceover and just recapped and
Hmm.
stuff, and then showed maybe a little part of it. But then I was like, that wasn't getting as good as traction as I thought. So then I switched it up and I started doing it a little differently and had like a different intro to it that was the same. And then that one got a little better traction, but not as much. So then I just started like doing the actual highlight, getting straight to the point, and those did really good. Those like were my best things. So I'm like, okay, I found my rhythm now. Like this was okay, this was okay, then these did
Hmm.
good. So that
That's
was
cool.
yeah.
That's really funny. Yeah, I like how you mentioned that stuff. It was pretty. It made me laugh. uh, So okay. So I know the video was on TikTok, and this was one of the more recent ones, but you're like, everyone's asking who my favorite date was, and then it cut out, which I thought was hilarious. But
Yeah.
are you willing to say on this podcast who your top date was?
I will never say. I can't do it. In my mind I have and honestly, like, in my mind I have like I have a couple. I honestly don't know if there's like a definitive one. Like some of them are just like so close, but I just like never want to ever say it. I gave you my worst, so so I gave you the worst, and
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I get not singling out anyone. I get that. It's funny. So, do you keep in contact with any of your dates at all? And if you do, have you found love with any of these dates?
Oh man, that's a big word, love. Um, so no, I think I keep in contact with some more than others, I should say. Like I have all their numbers,
Mhm.
and stuff. I have all their numbers and a couple of their snaps, and I have them all on Insta, things like that. And so, but with that, uh, I don't like text them every day, or we don't text every day. Like sometimes like, one of them will snap me, or I'll text them, or they'll text me, and it's just like it's more casual. It's not like, oh, every day, like, hey, or good morning or something like that. It's nothing
Okay, not like a
serious.
talking situation like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. It's nothing
Okay,
consistent, but I keep in touch with them to an extent on obviously on social media. Like I follow them also. I like their stuff when they post and whatnot. But then
yeah,
the other was it Sunday, I had scheduled a Zoom chat with all the girls, so we all
yeah.
did a big Zoom chat, which was really
I
cool.
saw that. And that was one of my other questions down the line. I saw that. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. I had a bunch of stuff to talk to them about, and it was super cool too because it was almost like two groups because like I call them like the OGs, like the ones that were in the very beginning, like
Yeah,
the ones that were there, and then like when I first started, when I didn't know what I was doing, and then the LA stuff popped up, so then I had to stop, and then I
put that
went.
on pause.
Yeah, and so then like and then it was like the new ones once I resumed. So it was like almost two different groups, and it was nice because I hadn't talked to like a lot of the old ones for a while. So it was like
Yeah,
seeing both of them like come to life and all of them in a Zoom chat. It was a lot of fun.
that's really cool. So, did you have bad Florida in that conversation, or you just kicked her out?
No, absolutely not. I was like, no, not deal with that.
So, how was so overall? Then was this with the call with all these dates? Were they good then?
Yeah, are you talking about like the with all of them or
Just
just
over, or just every single one? Like overall, was it like a good experience?
Oh, 100%. Um, it was an absolutely incredible experience, like meeting girls from all over, talking with different people, like meeting their families or their pets or their
Oh, no
roommates
way.
or their friends. Yeah, like all those things, and just learning their backgrounds and what they do, and us just having casual conversation.
Hmm.
It was really chill that way. It was a lot of fun, and it was just cool because like my map I throw on obviously like their names and stuff. So it's cool just to like know these people from all across the US and whatnot. So I like to think this is phase one because there's a lot of cool stuff in store too. And so I mean, yeah, like it was just a really cool experience, but it's just the beginning.
Stay tuned for a clip from part 3 coming out tomorrow.
Because people would always tell me to try and go on The Bachelor.
Hmm.
Or is it the Bachelorette's the one where all the guys go on, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so people would always tell me I should apply to be on The Bachelorette because like they say you need someone with like unique backgrounds. And so
Yeah.
since my title with the baseball team was the director of fun, people were like, "Oh my gosh, like you're the director of fun, you're a single guy, you're in different color suits all the time. Like you could make this fun." And so I was like, "Oh, it's interesting." Like and so I definitely thought about it before this, like during this and after it. I'm like, "Man, I could really try, or I've thought about it more, I guess, like, oh, I could put it out there and be like, hey, I've gone on 50 virtual dates, or I've gone on a date with a girl in every state virtually or whatever, and I could
I'm
catch on.
experienced.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that would do really well. I'm not too sure. I think that might be back pocket, but I definitely have it in like I have it in my toolbox of like, oh, I could do something maybe like that if it worked. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Because I love that show. I watch it. It's fun, but like the drama. Like I'd be the kid, and then I'd be the guy in the corner, just like waving to the camera. Like I'm like I don't like I'm not here for the drama. Like it's so annoying, you know?
Right? Yeah, I know. I feel like I'd be like the big or like the little kid. I feel like I'd be
Yeah.
like laughing or like making jokes.
I mean,
And
I'd be
I'd be,
having fun.
yeah, right? Like I'd be sitting there enjoying like the free drinks they give me or whatever, but like everybody else be like having their shirts off and showing off their muscles and really trying to like flex on the date, and I'm just sitting there being like a goofball. I feel like that's how I would be, but
Yeah, and I mean the whole purpose of there is to find love, and it just makes me laugh. Like some of those guys on there, sometimes I think they're fake. I don't think they're on there for that, you know, for that reason. It just makes me laugh.